A long, long time ago, when human beings were not so fixed in their physical bodies as they are today, there lived a man, or was it a woman, who made for himself a marvelous mask, a mask that could pull many faces. He used to put on the mask and entertain himself by suddenly accosting people and watching their reactions. Sometimes the mask was laughing, sometimes crying, sometimes grimacing and scowling. His victims were always shocked at the sight of such an extraordinary, unnatural, unfamiliar face, even when it was smiling. But whether they laughed or cried made no difference to him. All he wanted was the excitement of their reactions. He knew he was himself behind the mask. He knew he was the joker, and that the joke was on them. At first, he'd pop out with the mask on a couple of times a day. Then, as he got used to the excitement and wanted more, he began leaving the mask on all day. Finally, he saw no need to take it off at all, and slept in it. For years the man wandered through the land, enjoying himself behind the mask. Until one day he awoke, feeling a feeling he'd never felt before. He felt lonely, cut off, something missing. Jumping up in alarm, he stepped out in front of a beautiful woman and immediately fell in love with her. But the woman screamed and ran away, shocked by the frightening, unfamiliar face. "Stop!" he cried. "It's not me!" wrenching at the mask to tear it off. But it was him. The mask wouldn't come off. It was stuck to his flesh. It had become his face. The man, through his fabulous mask, was the first person to enter this unhappy world. But let me finish the story. Time went by, and no matter how hard the man tried to tell everyone what a disaster he'd brought on himself, no one would believe him. No one was interested in listening anyway, because they'd all copied him. They'd all put on masks of their own to get the new excitement of playing at being what they were not. Like him, they'd all become the mask. But now something worse had happened. They'd not only forgotten the joke and the joker, they'd forgotten how to live joyously as the being behind the mask. How the man eventually put a stop to the masquerade and returned to his joyous being is the finale of the story and the rest of this tape. For all fables must have a happy ending. Now let's get on with it. The mask you are wearing is your personality. Look in the bathroom mirror. That's it. Watch the faces you pull. Sometimes approving, often disapproving. You can't really believe it's you. So you look in every passing mirror, shop windows and all, to reassure yourself and confirm it's you. Sometimes you even get a weird, irrational feeling of wanting to strip off the mask, don't you? This is not uncommon. It's just that people don't like to talk about it. It sounds silly. But it's not so silly, is it, when you start being honest? The biggest load you're carrying in your life is your personality, the strain of pretense. Keeping it up weighs you down and sucks the life out of you. You blame so many things for the feeling of heaviness and lack of life. You blame your work, your relationships, your diet, your problems. And yet it's your personality that has cut you off from your natural joy and vibrance. The personality makes you worried and emotional. It's the cause of your moods and self-doubt, your depressions and times of misery. It confuses your mind. It's fearful of the future and guilty or regretful of the past. It gets listless, bored and restless with the present. It's the unsuspected shadow that slides in between you and your partner. It's the cunning and knowing in the eyes. It lives off every kind of stimulus, good and bad, depression and excitement. And it's utterly terrified of being found out, discovered as the phony and spoiler it is. The personality is the face of dishonesty. Do you recognize any of these symptoms in yourself? Then you're ready to begin dismantling the personality. I say dismantle because the personality is a mantle. A mantle is a cloak, and you've thrown the mantle of the personality around you to shield you from the nastiness of the world and the hurtfulness of people. What you've done is you've made the personality your protector. You've handed over much of your authority. So the personality jumps to your defense immediately you feel hurt, threatened, or criticized. It hits out for you with piercing or bludgeoning words. Sometimes you wince at its violence and insensitivity. But then it's your champion, your defender. So you meekly go along with its appalling behavior and make excuses for it to yourself. The wily protector, given absolute power, becomes the absolute dictator, and you despair of ever being free. The truth is, you have no need of this protection. The personality is like a bully at school, whose gang you once joined to be on the safe side. After you've grown up, he comes back and convinces you still need him. He's able to do this because, without knowing it, you harbour all the pain of yesterday, the old fears and hurts of your childhood, your youth, and adult life. The bully, knowing your fear, won't leave you alone, and you're terrified to lose his protection. Notwithstanding this, the personality does have its place and role. It makes a rotten master, but it is a good servant. The servant must no longer be allowed to run your life. It's fouled it up long enough. Everything you perceive as wrong with the world is the result of someone's personality. In fact, the world itself was constructed by the ignorance of personality. That's why the world's such a cruel, exploitative and dishonest place compared with the beauty and integrity of the earth and nature. Just as the personality lives off you and drains your resources, so the world is exhausting the earth's resources. The world is the personality of the earth.